Hey guys, Jacob here, and today in this video I wanted to talk about very interesting topic that was requested by you multiple times. Today I will be talking with Raffy Kumruyan from Deltologic. Hi Raffy, how are you?
Hi Jacob. Fine, thank you.
It's great to have you here, and it's great that today we'll be talking about the mysterious topic of private public apps, developer accounts, selling partner API in general with PII access, and of course about Amazon App Store. So our different various apps that you can publish if you are a developer, if you are a company that is building your own SaaS. This is what we'll be talking today. This is very unusual format. So let us know in the comments what do you think about this kind of video format, because we have a lot of information to give it to you today, but it's in very chaotic format. But anyway, let's jump right to it. So first of all, Raffy, maybe you can clarify to all of the new viewers or people who are recently starting developing something with the SP API with Amazon. What is it? Like, what is the Amazon SP API and why is it so important for developers?
I would say that's a pretty simple answer here. I mean, what is the SP API, the Selling Partner API? It's API of Amazon, like the main one that you could take all of the information programmatically, build your own tools, build your own analytics. I'm talking about information when it comes to sales, when it comes to orders, traffic, and everything else really that a seller might need in order to basically run his business.
All right, and now actually the second question is more about the different types of getting access to the SP API, because it's not that obvious what exactly do you have to do to get the access to certain information when you are developing your app. I mean, first of all, there's a lot of documentation about something called a private developer, public developer, private app, public app, application for vendors, application for sellers, and then there's even a topic about the restricted data that you can gather from the API. So I would love to clarify all of this terminology, all of those keywords. If you can actually explain to us what is the difference between all of those.
Topic is quite broad, but luckily I've been working maybe in the recent year mainly with many different clients, many different projects, and I've been in close touch with the application process for the SP API, for different type of private public applications, listed, unlisted. Like, I'm gonna get into that in a moment, and what's the best type that you need, and how hard it is to get a certain type of approval, type of connection to the SP API. So I'm gonna start one by one. Like, first of all, there are two types of developers, two types of people that access the API: private and public. That's I would say the basis. Because for private developers, they are people that mostly, or private companies, that those are companies and developers that they take the information only for their company and do some kind of optimizations with it, monitoring, build their own internal tools. That's very important that those tools are only internal and they're not shared with any other sellers. And of course, the second category are the people that are building SaaSes, that are building public tools and so on, or tools that they can onboard their clients to, for example. And those are the public developers. Those are the people that develop apps in order to onboard other sellers, other vendors, and take their information from their accounts about their sales and then do something with it. I mean, again, I'm giving a example of a SaaS system that, for example, you can monitor your sales, you have some kind of alarming and so on. Those are the two things I wanted to start with. Now, if you want to go into a bit more depth, and that's why I have my cheat sheet right here, because it's it can get a little bit confusing. So I'm gonna start with the first one, which is the easiest and like basic type. When you register and you go on your Seller Central, you go on Develop Apps, you first register as a developer, you get approved, and you get approved for like the basic type of application, which is the private application. Now, when you have it, you can go there, you're approved, you can go create your own SP API application, and there are two things that you'll notice there. That the self-authorizations and all authorizations. So the self-authorizations, those are the number of authorizations that you can do for your account. Only you can do them for yourself, like on the different marketplaces that you are selling.
It means how many kind of connections you can create within the app.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just gonna take a hint from the cheat sheet, but for the self-authorizations, you can get 10 of those in a private app, and all authorizations, so for other sellers, you just cannot do it. This type of application is not suitable for you. Now, this is totally fine if you're building something for yourself, for your company, and you don't want to bother with onboarding different people through your application.
So if you're building a very simple dashboard solution, monitoring tool, whatever like this, you cannot connect any other seller's account to it and retrieve information from it.
No. Doesn't matter here the simplicity of the software or of the tool. It matters if you want to onboard other people. It can be a really complicated, really big system that maybe you're using only for your business, and that's fine. But it can be a super simple tool that, I don't know, rings a bell every time you get some complaint or you get some new order. Still, you cannot onboard other sellers to it. Now, the second type, now we're getting into the public applications and where you have the intent of actually onboarding other users. The first type is public unlisted app. Why is it unlisted? It's because it's not listed on the Amazon marketplace. This is the type that you get immediately after you go in develop apps in your Seller Central. You go in like edit developer profile or something like this, and you choose that you want to apply for a public app. Your questions that are there are going to change slightly. There will be questions like what are going to be the features there, how are they going to benefit other users, and so on. With this type of app, you can get again the 10 self-authorizations, but what's interesting that you can get also 25 authorizations of other sellers. And if we're talking about other vendors, those are unlimited here. So vendors you can onboard unlimited, but sellers you can onboard 25. And that's a perfect example when you're like building an MVP for your system, for your SaaS, for example, or whatever you're building, that you can onboard up to 25 people, which is a quite solid base of beta users that can get there. They can start using the app. You can verify your idea, test the MVP, and so on. Make the necessary changes. If you want to continue further and you have, brave plans that you want to have 100 users, 200,000, 1,000, 2,000 users, you need to go public. So this limit of 25, it's not going to be enough. And what you need to do once your application is ready, you need to apply for a public listing. This process is nothing hard. The questions there are like basic stuff about what features are there, what category is your application, provide an support mobile phone, and so on. Name of the application, which marketplaces do you support. Once you get approved for that, you submit a case. Once you get approved for that, you will have your app listed on the App Store. I mean, you need to put also the pricing. Is it free? Is it only per developer's quote? What are the pricing structures and so on? And then you have an unlimited amount of users, of sellers that you can get onboarded to. This limit of 25 doesn't exist. Now, an interesting thing that I want to say, because we've been in this for quite some time now, a couple of years, and if I recall correctly, maybe a year and a half ago, those limits were not existent. Like for a public application, this limit of 25, it was not there. Exactly. I'm sure you remember those times where you just make a public application and that's it. And we were quite surprised some time ago that those are the things that change, and we need to adapt to them.
Now also to ask you a question. So you said that you can onboard a couple of client accounts to test the application. So just a random example, let's say I'm running the Amazon agency, I'm building my own dashboard solution, and I want to just onboard. I want to build a dashboard for 10 different clients. Mm-hmm. And I want to do it fast, right? The dashboard is very simple. It just shows the sales. It just in a very graphical interface in a browser, right? So what kind of app, what kind of profile, developer profile should I have to do it the fastest?
So for sure, public.
Public. It cannot be private again.
It cannot be. It cannot be, and for sure the unlisted. So I mean that's naturally the first option. When you create an app, first it's unlisted, then you need to do this extra effort to actually submit
so it's like
the
in a draft
application.
mode. This is how it's called.
Something like this.
What's the difference between private developer and public developer to apply actually? Is it like much harder to get the public developer profile than private?
Not that much harder. There are some things that, for example, you need to have a privacy policy on your website that shows that you're compliant with the Amazon privacy policies, that you will keep the user's data secure and so on. That's one of the biggest things. But again, it's nothing too hard to just.
So technically, it's much better to directly get the public developer profile and create public unlisted app.
Well, yeah, I would say so. For sure, because you might need that. You have to authorize some other user at some point, even though that you initially planned that this application is only for you.
But even when it's for you, you might have different seller accounts.
You might have different seller accounts. Yeah.
So because of that, it's basically much better to create public developer profile.
Yeah.
If you want to build it something. But of course, it's not for every case. I'm just speaking to more complex cases. Okay, that makes sense. And now I wanted to ask you, one of the most common topics actually, and the request that we are getting at Deltologic is getting approved for the RDT, restricted data token, the other words PII access.
Yeah.
Could you clarify what exactly is this? What exactly is this data? And what's the process of getting approval for this data in a different apps?
Mm-hmm. All right. The so-called PII data, PII access, and the access for the restricted data token. Those are those last three rows when you're creating a public application or private. That because you have the different rows, like cannot remember them just by memory, but you have for where communication, if I'm not mistaken, pricings and
taxes.
So on. Taxes is one of them, and of course those
addresses.
Those last three that require RDT. Those two are for taxes, and one is for direct to customer shipping. So if you want to ship something FBM directly to the customer and you want to get the address information not from the Seller Central, but you want to automate this whole process, you need to have the access there. And I'm going to start with the private one. Again, we're working with different clients, with different projects, but the most needed thing and the thing that clients are requiring the most is what, as I said, the FBM sellers who want to automate their process and send shipments to their clients. Maybe they want to sync them with their current ERP that they're using or something like this, or with the shipping carrier, because right now they're doing it manually through the Seller Central. They want to automate that. So those are the so-called private sellers that when we have a private developer account and a private application, without PII, we can easily create it. With PII, it's slightly harder. I mean, it's actually much harder. It's actually much harder if you don't know what you're doing, and if you don't know how those questions that they're asking are formulated. If you're not familiar with the three different policies that Amazon has, acceptance data policy, and again, can't remember exactly their names in my head, but again, I've been reading them, studying through them, how exactly we need to answer, what are the requirements there for encryption, for change management, and so on. So that's quite harder compared to even if you want to get the data for your own account, for your own sales, the addresses of the clients that you're selling to. This is still much more protected than if you just want to get the sales data, pricing data, listings data, and so on. Second thing is if we have a public application, again, if we want to have the PII access to the different taxing reports or the customers' addresses, it's quite hard to get it. It's actually extremely hard, and it requires a 3-step verification process. That again, that first step is the business criteria review, which is actually almost the same as the business criteria review. Those are those questions when you're applying, which is again almost the same as when you're applying for a public app, but for a private app, sorry. But for the public one, you have also more extended questions, like they're asking you what country-specific features that you're having there, which marketplace are you supporting, and so on. How the users using your system are gonna benefit. So that's quite hard to get, even the first part. But let's say you have it. There's the second part where it's an information security architecture questions. They're sending an Excel sheet with the different questions that you need to answer to. Some of them are similar to the ones you've already answered, but with the biggest difference here that you need to provide a lot of screenshots. You need to provide all kind of different policies that you might have, like contracts with employees, like NDAs signed by them, to make sure that they're aware that they shouldn't share any personal information that your application is storing, that you're not storing anything on your logs when it comes to, again, personal information, and all kind of different stuff, like proofs that you had penetration tests done every half a year or every 1 year, and proofs of all those mechanisms that are required by Amazon in order to make sure that customers' data is secure. That's the hardest thing. And when you answer those questions, there is the last step, which is a technical interview, where you jump on a call with someone from Amazon and you share your screen, you show them in order to prove that what you wrote and all the screenshots that you sent are actually from your application, from your account. And there might be also questions like, for example, what internet connection are you using? Are you using your home computer to access this data? Are you using your private internet to access this data? If yes, that's not acceptable. You need to have a separate router, separate connection that's much more secure, only used for the business purposes, and so on.
That's insanely hard process, actually, to really get the public app with the PII access. I really wonder how many of the apps in the Amazon App Store are actually with the PII access, because you cannot really check it, right? If you scroll,
there is no filter, there is no easy way. You need to read through the functionalities and what those apps are offering.
Exactly. But this is a super tough process. I know that you mentioned once that there are some external consultants also involved in this process from some consulting firms. Mm-hmm. So they also help you to actually get it, or they just review?
Those are like the external consultants. When it comes to this last part, so the security interview, those can be people from Amazon, or they can be external consultants that are hired by Amazon to make a review on your application and on your infrastructure.
Got it. That's very nice. And now for the last question, what will happen? What actually happens when Amazon declines your form, right? Like how does it work? How many times can you actually submit till they kick you out completely, or can it even happen? How much can it actually take to one company to get this full access? Maybe first just to get public without the PII, and then with the actual PII access.
Mm-hmm. So whenever Amazon rejects your application, doesn't matter if it's for public, private, with PII, without PII, doesn't really matter. They send you an email where they answer to your case and say, okay, those questions here, they have some kind of problems. You need to look into. The rest is fine. Or maybe everything is not compliant. You need to rewrite everything again. In that case, you can, the process that you need to follow is just to follow the instructions that are there. Sometimes they're quite poor and not really explanatory, but still you need to do your best to understand as much and reapply again. When reapplying, you might be answering, let's say they say that 5 of the questions are not compliant. You might reapply again. They might say, okay, 2 are now fine, but 3 are still not compliant. Then you need to only work on those 3. Mm-hmm. The rest you can leave. since they're compliant. Now, for how many times you have the chance to reapply, that's an interesting topic, because I've been talking with different people, reading different comments on GitHub, and not only with people discussing. And some say that after here we're talking about like the public application with PII. Some people say that after the third retry, Amazon told them, okay, you cannot apply anymore, you're kicked out, so you need to create actually a new seller profile.
Wow.
And then start the application again. But there were also some people, and I mean also from my experience, you can get rejected more than 3 times, maybe even 5 times, 6, 7 times. I've heard even people that maybe 20 times they were just reapplying non-stop in the course of 1 year in order to get accepted. So I don't think there is some limit, or at least some limit that it's just set. But my advice here, it would be that whenever you're reapplying, to really change the texts, even though Amazon, for example, especially for the public app, it can be quite hard. They're not really telling you what you need to change or where exactly is the problem, but still change as much before you reapply, so they see that, okay, there are some change things. It's not that the person is just spamming with the same data, hoping that something will change.
That's fair. But yeah, anyway, I think that was a very nice conversation. I think we explained a little bit the concept of the Amazon App Store, the PII access, public, private developer accounts, the app types for sellers, for vendors. And let us know in the comments, what do you think about this kind of format? Because, I mean, we are working on a daily basis with the SP API and the advertisement API. And we have a lot of case studies, a lot of edge cases, a lot of contact with Amazon, with weird scenarios that are happening in the API itself. So let us know in the comments, what do you think? Because today I was talking with Raffy, who is working with many of our clients. So probably if some of you are watching and you are our clients, you know Raffy very well. And for all of the future clients, if you actually decide to start developing some apps with us, Raffy will be your main point of contact with most of the projects. So my plan is also to invite as many Deltologic employees here as possible and kind of continue with this format. But yeah, that was awesome. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Thanks, Raffy.
Thanks.
And yeah, I see you next time.